Hello, it is January of 2023, and my name's Suzanne. I was diagnosed with stage 4 gastric cancer in September of 2021. I started my chemo October 1st, 2021, and my disease is stable. My metastasis is in my skeleton, all through my bones. So I think this is my third video, and I thought I'd share some updates on where I am. First of all, my health is still very good. I don't really have any problems. I don't really have any pain. I can eat whatever I want. I can, when I'm not on chemo, do whatever I want. You know, travel, yoga, work, all the things. So I really had a great holiday season. I worked a lot, traveled. My boyfriend and I went to New York City, had a great time. Maybe overdid it a little bit, but it was nice to be doing all the things. I had 4 weeks off because of the holiday from chemo instead of my normal 3. So my last scan was November 30th, and I had it done here in Frederick, Maryland at Community Radiology. And then I get it sent over to Hopkins just for a second set of eyes, because I found over the last year and a half or so that for every radiologist that reads your scan, you're going to get a different report back. So this time they were almost identical. Both said there was mild thickening at the gastroesophageal junction, the GE junction. So that could be scar tissue, or it could be some cancer in the wall of the stomach, because mine is diffused. It kind of goes in through the stomach wall like icing in between layers of a cake. So it's not necessarily that easy to see in a scan, but they can tell by the thickness that something is there. Hopefully it's scarring. And then the rest of my stomach to Hopkins looked normal. To Frederick, it said partially distended, but not to be concerned about. There's just still some thickening at the GE junction. And then in my bones, it's still osseous metastatic disease, but no new spots. It's all the same spots. And again, it's very hard to tell the difference between scarring in the bones and the cancer. So we're going to hope that it's scarring. My alkaline phosphatase, which is a bone marker, also the liver, but it's a bone marker, has stayed in that 40 to 70 range for probably 9 months now. So at the beginning it was way over 500. So that's always a good sign too. So I don't have anything in my blood, anything going on cancer-wise in my blood work to be worried about, and my scan is stable. So that's as good as it's going to get right now, and I'll take it. I did find out on one of the Hope for Stomach Cancer calls that one of the genes that I had, CTNNA1, it was labeled as variant of unknown significance, VUS, and unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on how you look at it, it is something that they feel that it is a problem, a genetic problem, and probably why I did get stomach cancer. And so my family does need to be tested. So I was very upset. It was really, really tough to hear that. But I'm sure I'm just trying to really tell myself there was already a lot of cancer in my family. So there was always the thought that there was something had happened in the DNA, the genetics. And so, hopefully knowledge is power, even though it's hard to hear that. And then to know that your children and your brother and sister and your nieces and nephews all need to be tested for this. It's like, it's reality. But it is also better to know what's going on. And when I found that the variant was being possibly reclassified, I reached out to Dr. Davis at NIH, and Dr. Perry Guilford, who's a geneticist for hereditary diffuse gastric cancer in New Zealand. And I sent them my genetic report, and they said, yes, this is a problem and your family needs to be tested. So Dr. Davis at NIH is going to see me and any of my family members that have this variant. So we're in good hands, and there'll be plenty of surveillance for any of us that have it. And it's also very good news for me. Hopefully he'll have some insight on how much of the scarring that we're seeing in my scans is scarring and how much is cancer. Because it is diffused, it's very hard to tell, and because it's in the bones, it's very hard to tell. So I'm hoping that NIH will have more answers as to, where I am, because at this point I have had 16 months, 22 rounds of chemo, and also the Opdivo and the Xgeva. I'm starting to have some rashes, not very often, but when it happens, it's really bad, to the point that it scabs over. And unfortunately, that's a sign that your immune system might be overreacting to the immunotherapy. And you have to think about, is it still safe? So right now I'm still on it, but it's, there's a little bit of a red flag there. And I didn't really understand what happens, but because it is an immunotherapy that helps your body to see the PD-L1 protein on the cancer cells and on the tumor cells. And so the body can go and kill the cancer because the PD-L1 was hiding the tumor from your immune system. And so that's why it works so well for someone with a PD-L1 score of 10 or higher, and I'm a 10. So it has worked very, very well for me. But there's also PD-L1 on other organs of the body. A good example would be the thyroid. A lot of times people will have problems with their thyroid when they're on a PD-L1 immunotherapy because the PD-L1 is protecting the thyroid. And then your immune system starts to see the thyroid as something foreign and starts to kind of attack it. So I didn't really understand that that's how it worked, but that is how it works. And so you have to keep an eye on these things. It can happen to any organ of the body. For me, it's in my skin, but it's just an indication that it might happen elsewhere. So hopefully I can stay on it. You never know what's going to happen, but I have heard it said on some of the podcasts and things that I listen to that, for example, lung cancer has been using the immunotherapy a lot longer. And the patients that were able to stay on chemo and immunotherapy for 2 years, stage 4 patients, lung cancer, they can't have their lung removed, they were alive at 5 years. So we don't have 5-year data for stomach cancer. We're starting to have 3-year with the immunotherapy, should be out actually this month. But we have the 5-year information for other types of cancer, and that's what I've heard. For gastric cancer, I think the Checkmate 649 3-year results are going to come out. And the last I heard, the people who were alive on the treatment at 2 years were also alive at 3 years. So that's fabulous news. So I'm at 16 months. I'm still on first-line therapy, and I'm going to do everything I can to stay on the treatment for at least 2 years and then go from there. So that's where I am. I'm still doing all of my integrative therapies. I'm still getting acupuncture twice a week. It helps me a lot, especially with the side effects from chemo. I go on about it, but it really helps me if I have constipation, if that helps. UTI, every once in a while, it will help with that. And that's invaluable because I just can't really tolerate the antibiotics anymore. They're giving me terrible rashes. I'm also doing plenty of yoga, and I added in a yoga sound bath class with the gongs and the bowls, and it's very loud and the vibrations are very strong, and I feel a lot of healing with that. So if you like to include integrative therapies, right now the sound baths are very popular, and I feel really good afterwards. I'm still taking my Chinese herbs and all my supplements. Before chemo, I'm trying to eat very much plant-based, very light, very a lot of juices, my fresh juices, and almost to just really have my stomach empty, because the less that's in my stomach when I go into chemo, the better I feel. If I've eaten a lot of animal protein or dairy or foods that take a long time and that sit in your intestines for a long time, I'm really a lot sicker through chemo. And then once I'm past, all the nausea and everything from the chemo, then I add back in my fish and my lean meats and that type of thing. And it's helping me a lot to really have my stomach as empty as possible before I go into chemo. I know it's different for everybody, and especially if you've had your stomach removed, there's going to be different recommendations, but for me, that has really helped. So that's all I have for now. I hope this bit of information helps somebody in their journey. Thank you.